I should have known something was wrong when Vera started wearing perfume to bed. My name is Leon Carter, and I've spent the last 15 years building a tech security company from nothing. Tonight, I'm sitting in the back row of the Grand Ballroom at the Marriott, watching my wife of 12 years accept an award for Community Leadership Excellence. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm the one who's been quietly funding half her nonprofit's initiatives through corporate sponsorships. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The ballroom is packed with Massachusetts' social elite. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over round tables draped in white linen. Everyone's dressed to impress, and the air buzzes with the kind of fake enthusiasm that comes with open bars and networking opportunities. Vera looks stunning up there in her black evening gown, the one I bought her for our anniversary last year. Her auburn hair is pulled back in an elegant chignon, and she's working the crowd like a seasoned politician. At 45, she's still the woman who caught my eye at a charity auction years ago. But something's changed. The way she looks at me now, when she bothers to look at all, is different. Cold. Calculating. Before I close, Vera says into the microphone, her voice carrying that practiced warmth she uses for donors, I want to thank someone very special, someone who's been my real partner through all of this challenging work. I straighten in my chair. Finally, some recognition. God knows I've earned it after all the late nights I've spent helping her draft grant proposals and the corporate connections I've leveraged for her causes. Damian Holt has been absolutely instrumental in making tonight possible, she continues. His lobbying firm has opened doors I never could have opened alone. Damian, would you please stand? The crowd erupts in polite applause as Damian rises from a table near the front. He's younger than me, maybe 42, with the kind of artificially perfect smile that comes from expensive dental work and even more expensive suits. His dark hair is slicked back, and he gives a modest wave like he's accepting an Oscar. My real partner. The words echo in my head as I watch my wife beam at another man. Not one of my partners, or a valued colleague. My real partner. The emphasis she put on real cuts through me like a blade. I've known Damian for 3 years, ever since Vera started working more closely with local government on her environmental initiatives. He runs a boutique lobbying firm downtown, the kind of operation that thrives on backroom deals and influence peddling. I never liked him, too smooth, too eager to insert himself into conversations about my business, too comfortable making jokes about old married couples whenever the three of us were together. Now I know why. The applause dies down, and Vera launches into her closing remarks about community partnership and shared vision. I'm not listening anymore. I'm watching the way she looks at Damian, the way he's looking back at her. There's an intimacy there that makes my chest tighten with a mixture of rage and humiliation. My phone buzzes. A text from Miles Rodriguez, my chief operating officer. Watching the live stream. You okay, boss? I type back quickly. Fine. Talk tomorrow. But I'm not fine. I'm sitting in a room full of people who think they just witnessed my wife thanking her business partner, but I know better. I've built my career on reading between the lines, on spotting security vulnerabilities that others miss. The vulnerability in my marriage has been staring me in the face for months, and I've been too proud or too stupid to acknowledge it. Vera wraps up her speech to another round of applause. As she steps down from the podium, she doesn't look for me in the crowd. Instead, she heads straight for Damian's table, where he's already standing to greet her with a hug that lasts just a beat too long. I stand up and walk toward the exit, weaving between tables full of people who are already moving on to dessert and after-dinner drinks. Nobody notices me leaving. I've always been good at being invisible in social situations like this. It's one of the things Vera used to say she loved about me, back when she still said she loved anything about me. The hotel lobby is quieter, filled with the soft jazz music they pipe in to create ambiance. I find a leather chair near the bar and pull out my phone. 3 missed calls from Janet Morrison, the CEO of Vera's nonprofit. I call her back. Leon, thank God, Janet says before I can even say hello. I've been trying to reach you. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Harrison Industries just pulled their sponsorship, effective immediately. They said something about unclear partnership structures and reputational concerns. I don't understand what happened. The event was going so well, and then... I'll handle it, I say, cutting her off. But Leon, that's $60,000. We can't afford to lose that kind of funding, especially not right before the quarterly board meeting. I said I'll handle it, Janet. I hang up and open my laptop bag. The hotel Wi-Fi connects instantly. I helped design their network security 2 years ago. Within minutes, I'm logged into my company's client management system, scrolling through our corporate sponsorship agreements. Harrison Industries, Morrison Environmental Foundation, Quarterly commitment, $60,000. I click through to the contract details. There it is, buried in Section 12. Sponsorship agreement subject to immediate termination in the event of public misrepresentation of partnership structure or corporate relationships. I added that clause myself 6 months ago, during the last contract renewal. Call it a businessman's intuition, or maybe I was already starting to suspect that my wife's partnerships weren't entirely professional. My finger hovers over the termination button. One click, and Vera's organization loses its biggest corporate sponsor. One click, and her perfect evening turns into a crisis. I think about the way she said, real partner. I think about the way Damian smiled when she said it. I think about all the late nights she claimed to be working, all the conferences she attended without me, all the times I caught her texting someone and watched her quickly close her phone. I click the button. The system processes the termination immediately, sending automated notifications to Janet, to Harrison Industries' corporate office, and to the event planning company handling tonight's logistics. Within 15 minutes, Harrison's corporate banners will be quietly removed from the ballroom. By tomorrow morning, the news will be in the business section of the local paper. My phone rings. Janet again. Leon, I just got the most bizarre email from Harrison Industries. They're saying you terminated the sponsorship? That can't be right. You wouldn't do that without talking to Vera first, would you? Actually, Janet, I would, and I did. I don't understand. Why would you? Ask Vera about her real partners, I say, and hang up. I close my laptop and head for the parking garage. Behind me, I can hear the sounds of the party continuing, laughter, clinking glasses, the kind of networking chatter that oils the wheels of small city politics. Vera's probably still basking in her moment, still playing the role of the dedicated nonprofit leader with her devoted husband supporting her from the sidelines. She has no idea that her devoted husband just pulled the rug out from under her perfect evening, and this is just the beginning. The next morning, I'm in my office by 6 a.m., 2 hours before anyone else arrives. Carter Security Solutions occupies the top 3 floors of a downtown high-rise, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offer a view of the city I've helped protect for the last decade and a half. My personal office is deliberately understated. Functional furniture, a few industry awards on the wall, and a coffee machine that costs more than most people's rent. I'm reviewing quarterly reports when Tessa Morgan, my head of public relations, knocks on my door. She's 32, sharp as a razor, and has the kind of strategic mind that could run a small country. She's also one of the few people who knows about my suspicions regarding Vera's extracurricular activities. We need to talk, she says, closing the door behind her. The Harrison Industries termination is already making waves. Good waves or bad waves? Depends on your perspective. From a business standpoint, it's brilliant. You've positioned Carter Security as a company that values transparency and ethical partnerships. The financial press is eating it up. She hands me a tablet with several news articles already loaded. The headlines range from Local Tech CEO Takes Stand on Corporate Integrity to Carter Security Terminates Major Sponsorship Over Partnership Concerns. And from a personal standpoint, I ask, though I already know the answer. Your wife has been calling the office every 15 minutes since 7 a.m. Donna's been screening the calls, but Vera's getting increasingly agitated. She's demanding to speak with you immediately. Donna is my executive assistant, a 60-year-old former military officer who could probably run the Pentagon if they asked nicely. She's also fiercely loyal and completely unimpressed by social climbing nonprofit executives, even when they're married to her boss. Any other fallout? Miles is fielding calls from 3 other nonprofits asking about potential sponsorship opportunities. Apparently, word is spreading that Carter Security is being more selective about its charitable partnerships. It's actually generating positive business interest. Tessa sits down across from my desk and pulls out her phone. But there's something else you need to see. Simone Walsh posted this on Instagram about an hour ago. Simone is one of Vera's closest friends, a social media influencer who makes her living posting lifestyle content for other wealthy wives with too much time and too little substance. She's also the kind of person who treats other people's drama like entertainment. The Instagram story shows a photo of Vera and Damian at last night's event, taken during the cocktail hour before dinner. They're standing close together, his hand resting on the small of her back, both of them laughing at something off camera. The caption reads, "Some partnerships are just meant to be. Arshakrinar power couple, Arsh community leaders. Edal behind every great woman." Interesting choice of words, I say. It gets worse. Look at the comments. I scroll through dozens of comments from their social circle. Most are the usual vapid congratulations, but a few stand out. You two make such a great team. When's the next collaboration? You work so well together. Damian is so lucky to have found such an amazing partner. How long have you been working together? You seem so in sync. Every comment reinforces the narrative that Vera and Damian are a team, a partnership, a unit. And notably absent from any of the photos or comments is any mention of me. There's more, Tessa says, swiping to another post. This is from Allison Parker. Allison works in HR at Vera's nonprofit. She's always struck me as quietly ambitious, the kind of person who pays attention to office politics and carefully manages her relationships with everyone in power. Her post is more subtle, a group photo from the event with the caption, "Celebrating another successful year of partnership and community impact." But when I look closely at the photo, I notice something interesting. Allison is positioned between Vera and Damian, but she's looking directly at the camera with an expression that's hard to read. Not quite smiling, not quite serious, like she knows something the rest of us don't. "What's your read on this?" I asked Tessa. "Professionally, your wife is either completely oblivious to how this looks, or she's deliberately sending a message. Either way, it's not good for your marriage." "And personally?" Tessa leans back in her chair. "Personally? I think she's been planning this for a while. The timing of last night's speech, the social media coordination, the way she positioned herself with Damian throughout the evening, it's too orchestrated to be accidental." My phone buzzes with another call from Vera. I let it go to voicemail. "There's something else," Tessa continues. "I did some digging on Damian's firm this morning. His client list is interesting." She hands me a printed report. Damian's lobbying firm represents several major development companies, including 2 that have been trying to get environmental impact waivers for projects that Vera's nonprofit has publicly opposed. Conflict of interest, I ask? Not technically, but it raises questions about how aligned their professional interests really are. If Vera's organization suddenly became more flexible on certain environmental issues, it would be very profitable for Damian's clients. I study the report more carefully. The timeline is revealing. Damian's firm started representing these development companies about 18 months ago, right around the time he and Vera began their closer collaboration on policy issues. You think she's been compromised? I think she's been seduced. Whether that's personal, professional, or both, the result is the same. Her organization's credibility is at risk, and by extension, so is yours. Miles walks in without knocking, which means he has something urgent to discuss. He's 50 years old, built like a linebacker, and has the kind of steady presence that makes crisis management look easy. He's also been with the company since the beginning and knows where all the bodies are buried. "We have a situation," he says. "I just got off the phone with Harrison Industries' corporate office. They're very happy with our decision to terminate the sponsorship, but they wanted to give us a heads up about something." He sits down heavily in the chair next to Tessa. Apparently, Damian Holt contacted them 3 weeks ago asking about expanding their involvement with environmental causes. He specifically mentioned Vera's organization and suggested that Harrison might want to diversify their community investment strategy. "He was trying to poach our sponsor?" Tessa asks. "It gets better. He also mentioned that Carter Security might be scaling back our charitable giving due to changing business priorities. He was essentially telling them that we were pulling out and that they should work directly with him instead." The pieces start falling into place. Vera's distance over the past few months, her secretive phone calls, the way she's been questioning my involvement in her organization's activities. She wasn't just having an affair, she was planning to cut me out entirely. How did Harrison respond? They told him they preferred to work through established relationships and weren't interested in changing their sponsorship structure, but they flagged it in their system, which is why they were so quick to support our termination yesterday. They were already suspicious of Damian's motives. I lean back in my chair and consider my options. Vera and Damian have been playing a longer game than I realized, and last night's public declaration was just the opening move. They're not just having an affair. They're trying to steal my business relationships and position themselves as the power couple in local nonprofit circles. "What's our next move?" Tessa asks. We get ahead of the story, I say. "I want a full audit of all our charitable partnerships. Any organization that has significant involvement with Damian's firm gets a courtesy call about potential conflicts of interest. We're not terminating anything else yet, but we're making it clear that Carter Security takes ethical partnerships seriously." "That's going to put pressure on Vera's organization," Miles points out. "Good. Let her explain to her board why her personal relationships are creating problems for their corporate sponsors." My phone rings again. This time it's not Vera. It's Janet Morrison. "I'll take this," I tell Tessa and Miles. They nod and head for the door. "Janet, good morning." "Leon, we need to meet. Today. There are some things about last night that I need to discuss with you, and I'd prefer to do it in person." "What kind of things?" "The kind that could affect both our organizations. Can you be at my office at 2 p.m.? I'll be there. After I hang up, I walk to the window and look out at the city. Somewhere down there, Vera is probably having her own crisis management meeting, trying to figure out how to salvage her perfect evening. Damian is likely fielding angry calls from his clients, wondering why his careful plan to steal Harrison Industries' sponsorship fell apart. They have no idea that I'm just getting started. I pull out my phone and scroll through my contacts until I find the number I'm looking for. Mr. Feldman has been my neighbor for 8 years, ever since Vera and I bought the house on Elm Street. He's a retired private investigator who spends his days gardening and his evenings sitting on his front porch, watching the neighborhood with the kind of attention that comes from 40 years of professional surveillance. He also knows things about people that they'd prefer he didn't know. Mr. Feldman, it's Leon Carter. I was wondering if you might have some time to chat today. I have a situation that could use your expertise. I've been wondering when you'd call, he says. Come by around 4, and Leon, bring coffee. We're going to be talking for a while. Mr. Feldman's house is a modest colonial that's been meticulously maintained for the past 30 years. The front porch has 2 rocking chairs and a small table that's usually covered with crossword puzzles and coffee cups. Today, it's covered with a manila folder that I suspect contains information I'm not going to like. Sit down, Leon, he says, gesturing to the chair beside him. I brought the coffee out already. We're going to need it. Samuel Feldman is 73 years old, with white hair, sharp blue eyes, and the kind of quiet confidence that comes from seeing everything and saying very little. He retired from the Massachusetts State Police Detective Division 15 years ago, but old habits die hard. He still notices things that other people miss. How long have you known? I ask, settling into the rocking chair. About Vera and the lobbyist? 6 months, give or take. About you figuring it out? Since last night, when I saw you come home at 9:30 instead of staying for the after-party. He opens the manila folder and pulls out several photographs. They're surveillance-quality shots, clearly taken with a telephoto lens from his upstairs window. The first few show Vera and Damian in my driveway, standing close together beside his silver BMW. This was 3 weeks ago, Mr. Feldman says. Tuesday afternoon, around 2 p.m., you were at that cybersecurity conference in Boston. The next photo shows them embracing beside her car. Not a friendly hug, the kind of embrace that involves hands wandering and bodies pressed together. Wednesday, same week. She told you she was going to a board meeting, but the board meeting was Thursday. I checked. You checked? Leon, I've been watching your wife conduct an affair in plain sight for 6 months. Of course I checked. The Morrison Environmental Foundation posts their meeting schedules on their website. Very transparent organization, ironically enough. He hands me another set of photos. These are from inside Damian's BMW, taken through the passenger window. Vera is leaning across the center console, her hand on his chest, both of them laughing. This was last month. They met at the Starbucks on Main Street, then sat in his car for 45 minutes. I happened to be getting my oil changed at the garage across the street. You happen to be getting your oil changed? I happen to be getting my oil changed a lot these days. Retirement gives a man time to maintain his vehicle properly. Mr. Feldman's dry humor would be funnier if the photos weren't documenting the systematic destruction of my marriage. But there's something almost comforting about his matter-of-fact approach to surveillance. He's treating this like a case, which makes it easier for me to think about it strategically instead of emotionally. There's more, he says, pulling out a small notebook. I've been tracking their pattern. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons are the regular meetings, usually at the Starbucks or the hotel bar at the Marriott. Fridays, they sometimes meet for lunch at that new place downtown, Meridian. Meridian is expensive, very expensive, and very private. They have those booth seats in the back section where people can have intimate conversations without being overheard. He flips through several pages of handwritten notes. Times, dates, locations, duration of meetings. It's the kind of detailed surveillance log that could hold up in court. The interesting thing, Mr. Feldman continues, is how their pattern changed about 2 months ago. Before that, they were careful. Different locations, irregular timing, always looked like business meetings, but lately they've gotten sloppy, overconfident. Or they stopped caring about being discreet. That's what I think. I think they made a decision to go public, and last night was their coming out party. I study the photos more carefully. In every shot, Vera looks happy in a way I haven't seen in years. Not the performative happiness she uses for social events, but genuine joy. The kind of expression she used to get when we were first married and everything felt possible. There's something else you should know, Mr. Feldman says, about Damian's background. What about it? He's done this before. Twice, actually. His first marriage ended when his wife caught him having an affair with a city council member's wife. The second marriage lasted 3 years and ended when he left his wife for a woman who ran a consulting firm that did business with his clients. How do you know all this? Because I made some phone calls. Leon, you're a good neighbor and a decent man. When I see someone targeting you, I take it personally. Mr. Feldman closes the notebook and leans back in his rocking chair. Damian Holt has a pattern. He identifies successful women who have access to money, influence, or business connections. He seduces them, uses their resources to advance his own interests, and then moves on when he's gotten what he needs. And you think that's what he's doing with Vera? I think Vera has something he wants, and I don't think it's just her charming personality. Your wife runs a nonprofit that has significant influence over environmental policy in this region. That's worth millions of dollars to the right development companies. The pieces start falling into place. Damian's client list, his attempt to poach Harrison Industries, Vera's recent questions about my business relationships and financial assets. This isn't just an affair, it's a calculated business strategy. What do you recommend? Mr. Feldman pulls out one more item from the folder, a business card for a private investigator named Rebecca Torres. Becky is the best in the business. She's discreet, thorough, and she specializes in financial fraud cases. If Damian is using Vera to manipulate her organization's policy positions for his client's benefit, Becky will find the evidence. And if he's not? Then you'll have documentation of the affair for the divorce proceedings. Either way, you'll know exactly what you're dealing with. I take the business card and study it. Rebecca Torres, licensed private investigator, specializing in corporate and financial investigations. There's one more thing, Mr. Feldman says. I saw Vera's friend Allison at the grocery store yesterday morning. She was asking a lot of questions about you, how long we've been neighbors, what kind of person you are, whether you've seemed stressed lately. Allison Parker? That's the one. Seemed very interested in your state of mind and your relationship with Vera, almost like she was gathering information for someone. Or like she was trying to figure out how much I know. That's what I thought. Leon, I've been doing this kind of work for 40 years, and I've learned to trust my instincts. Something big is about to happen, and I don't think you're going to like it. I finish my coffee and stand up. The sun is starting to set, and I can see lights coming on in houses throughout the neighborhood. Normal families having normal dinners, dealing with normal problems. I envy them. Thank you for this, I say, gesturing to the folder. I know it wasn't easy to document. Actually, it was easier than you might think. Your wife and her boyfriend aren't nearly as clever as they think they are. I'm halfway down the porch steps when Mr. Feldman calls after me. Leon, when this all comes out, and it will come out, remember that you didn't start this fight. You're just finishing it. I walk back to my house, where Vera's car is already in the driveway. Through the kitchen window, I can see her pacing back and forth, phone pressed to her ear. She's animated, gesturing with her free hand, clearly agitated about something. I sit in my car for a few minutes, watching her through the window. She's still beautiful, still the woman I fell in love with 12 years ago. But she's also a stranger now, someone who's been living a double life and planning my humiliation with careful precision. My phone buzzes with a text from Rebecca Torres. Received your contact information from Sam Feldman. Available to meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Retainer is $5,000. Results guaranteed. I text back, I'll be there. Then I get out of my car and walk into my house, where my wife is waiting to lie to my face about her real partner. Vera is standing in our kitchen when I walk through the door, still wearing the black dress from last night, but now it's wrinkled and her makeup is smudged. She's been crying, which would be more sympathetic if I didn't know exactly why she's upset. Where have you been? She demands before I can even set down my keys. I've been trying to reach you all day. Do you have any idea what you've done? I've had a busy day. Work, you know. That thing I do to pay for this house and your organization's events. Don't you dare be sarcastic with me right now, Leon. Janet called me this morning in a panic. Harrison Industries pulled their sponsorship because of something you did. She said you terminated the contract yourself. I walk to the refrigerator and pull out a beer, taking my time opening it while Vera stands there vibrating with rage. The kitchen is one of Vera's pride and joy. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, and a breakfast bar where we used to sit together on Sunday mornings reading the paper. Now it feels like a stage set for a confrontation that's been building for months. I did terminate the contract, I say finally. It seemed like the right business decision. The right business decision? Leon, that's $60,000. Do you understand what that means for our programming next quarter? Your programming, not our programming. You made that very clear last night when you thanked your real partner. Vera's face flushes red, and for a moment she looks genuinely surprised, like she hadn't considered that her choice of words might have consequences. That's what this is about? You're sabotaging my organization because you're jealous of Damian? I'm protecting my company's reputation because I don't like being made a fool of in public. You're being ridiculous. Damian is a colleague, a professional partner. Just because you're insecure about your role in my work doesn't mean you can destroy everything I've built. The gaslighting is impressive, I'll give her that. If I didn't have a folder full of surveillance photos sitting in my car, I might almost believe her indignant act. Speaking of Damian, I say, interesting client list his firm has. A lot of development companies that seem to conflict with your environmental advocacy work. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that your real partner represents companies that profit when environmental regulations get relaxed. I'm talking about potential conflicts of interest that could damage both our reputations. Vera sets down her wine glass hard enough that I'm surprised it doesn't shatter. You had someone investigate Damian. I had someone investigate the business relationship between my wife's organization and a lobbying firm. It's called due diligence, Vera. It's what responsible business owners do. You had no right. I had every right. Carter Security's name is on those sponsorship agreements. If your organization gets caught up in a scandal, it reflects on my company. There's no scandal. Damian and I work together on policy issues. That's what lobbyists do. They help nonprofits navigate government relationships. Is that what you call it? The question hangs in the air between us. Vera stares at me, and I can see her calculating how much I know, how much I suspect, how much danger she's in. I don't know what you're implying, she says finally. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. Fact 1, you publicly thanked another man as your real partner. Fact 2, that man represents companies whose interests directly conflict with your organization's mission. Fact 3, he approached one of our sponsors behind my back trying to cut me out of the relationship. That's not... He wouldn't... He did. Harrison Industries has documentation of his contact. They were suspicious enough to flag it in their system, which is why they supported my decision to terminate the sponsorship. Vera sinks into one of the bar stools, and for the first time since I've known her, she looks genuinely defeated. Not angry, not manipulative, just tired. Leon, I think we need to talk. We are talking. I mean really talk. About us. About where we are and where we're going. Are we going somewhere, Vera? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've already decided on your destination. She looks up at me, and there's something in her expression that might be regret. Or it might just be frustration that her plan isn't working out the way she expected. I never meant for things to get this complicated, she says. What things? My relationship with Damian, the work we've been doing together, the way it's been affecting us. Finally, a crack in the facade. Not a confession, but an acknowledgement that there's something to confess. How long? I ask. How long what? How long have you been sleeping with him? The words hang in the air like a challenge. Vera's face goes through several expressions, surprise, anger, calculation, and finally, resignation. It's not what you think, she says. It's exactly what I think. The question is how long it's been going on, and whether you're planning to end it or end us. Vera stands up and walks to the window that overlooks our backyard. We had it landscaped 3 years ago. Professional design, expensive plants, a stone patio where we used to have dinner parties with friends. Now it just looks like an expensive stage set for a life that's falling apart. 6 months, she says without turning around. It started 6 months ago. Why? Because you stopped seeing me, Leon. You stopped paying attention to my work, my goals, my dreams. Everything became about your company, your success, your reputation. My success pays for your dreams. And you never let me forget it. Every board meeting, every event, every conversation about my work, you always found a way to remind me that Carter Security was footing the bill. Because Carter Security was footing the bill. Because you wanted control. You wanted me to be grateful, dependent, always asking permission to pursue my own career. The accusation stings because there is a grain of truth in it. I have been protective of my investment in her organization. I have questioned some of her decisions, but I never tried to control her. I tried to support her. So you decided to find someone who wouldn't question your judgment? I decided to find someone who respected my expertise and treated me like an equal partner. And the fact that he represents companies that could profit from your policy recommendations? That's just a coincidence? Vera turns around, and now she's angry again. Damian's client relationships have nothing to do with our personal relationship? Our personal relationship? Is that what you're calling it now? Leon, I'm trying to be honest with you. I'm trying to explain. You're trying to justify betraying your marriage and potentially compromising your organization's integrity for a man who has a history of seducing women for their business connections. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Damian's 2 previous marriages, both of which ended when he left his wife for a woman who could advance his career. I'm talking about a pattern of behavior that you're apparently too infatuated to recognize. Vera's face goes pale. That's not... He never said he'd done this before. Shocking. I'm sure he also never mentioned that his current client list includes companies that have been trying to get environmental impact waivers that your organization has been blocking. You don't understand the complexity of the work we do. I understand that you've been compromised. Whether you realize it or not, whether you intended it or not, your personal relationship with Damian has created a massive conflict of interest that could destroy everything you've worked for. My phone rings. The caller ID shows Rebecca Torres. I need to take this, I say, and walk into my home office. Mr. Carter, I've completed the preliminary research you requested. We need to meet immediately. There are some things you need to know before you make any decisions about how to proceed. How bad is it? Bad enough that you're going to want to document everything before it gets worse. Can you meet me tonight? I'll be there in an hour. I hang up and walk back to the kitchen, where Vera is sitting at the breakfast bar with her head in her hands. I have to go out, I tell her. Leon, we're not finished talking about this. Yes, we are. You've been having an affair for 6 months with a man who's using you to advance his business interests. You publicly humiliated me last night, and you've potentially compromised your organization's integrity. There's nothing left to talk about. Where are you going? To see a lawyer. It's not exactly true. I'm going to see a private investigator, but the effect is the same. Vera's face goes white, and she reaches for me as I walk toward the door. Leon, please, don't do anything rash. We can work this out. We could have worked it out 6 months ago. Now we're just managing the damage. I leave her sitting in our kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of the life we built together. By tomorrow morning, I'll know exactly how much damage we're really dealing with, and then the real work begins. Rebecca Torres meets me at a 24-hour diner downtown, the kind of place where nobody asks questions and the coffee is strong enough to keep you awake for surveillance work. She's younger than I expected, maybe 40, with short dark hair and the kind of alert eyes that miss nothing. She's already ordered coffee and has a laptop bag and manila folder waiting on the table. Mr. Carter, thank you for meeting me so late. What I found today requires immediate action. She opens the laptop and shows me a series of financial documents. Bank statements, wire transfers, corporate filings, the kind of paper trail that tells a story in numbers. Your wife has been receiving payments from Damian Holt's lobbying firm for the past 4 months. They're listed as consulting fees for environmental policy analysis. How much? $15,000 so far. The payments are structured to stay below reporting thresholds, but they are clearly connected to specific policy decisions made by her organization. She shows me a timeline that makes my stomach drop. Payment dates aligned with board meetings where Vera's organization softened their opposition to certain development projects. All projects represented by Damian's firm. There's more. Damian has been using corporate credit cards to pay for their hotel meetings, dinners, and what appear to be weekend trips to Boston and New York. His firm is billing these as client development expenses. So he's been buying her. It's more sophisticated than that. He's been creating a financial relationship that makes her dependent on the income while compromising her organization's independence. It's textbook corruption, just dressed up as a consulting arrangement. Rebecca pulls out printed emails that make everything clear, communications between Damian and his clients discussing policy modification strategies, and relationship management with key environmental stakeholders. Vera's name appears in several emails, always in the context of managing her organization's opposition to specific projects. How did you get these? Damian's firm has terrible cybersecurity. Their email server is protected by passwords that a high school student could crack. I didn't have to do anything illegal, just basic reconnaissance. The final piece of evidence is the most damaging, a recorded phone conversation between Damian and one of his clients, discussing a long-term strategy for neutralizing environmental opposition to a major development project. The key is getting Vera to gradually shift her organization's focus, Damian's voice says through Rebecca's laptop speakers. We can't make it obvious, but we can influence their priorities over time. She trusts me completely now, so it's just a matter of managing the transition. And her husband? Leon won't be a problem much longer. Vera's planning to file for divorce after the first of the year. Once she's free of that marriage, she'll have much more flexibility in her professional relationships. I listen to my wife's lover discussing my elimination like a business problem to be solved. The casual way he talks about manipulating Vera, about destroying my marriage, about corrupting her organization. It's breathtaking in its callousness. There's one more thing, Rebecca says. I found evidence that Vera has been sharing confidential information about your company's client relationships with Damian, specifically information about which corporations are planning to expand their environmental compliance programs. She shows me copies of internal Carter security documents that should never have left my office. Client lists, project timelines, budget information, all of it forwarded to Damian's personal email account. She's been feeding him intelligence about my business? For at least 3 months, Damian has been using this information to approach your clients directly, offering policy consultation services that compete with your security compliance work. The betrayal is complete. Not just adultery, not just public humiliation, but corporate espionage. Vera has been systematically undermining both her own organization and my company to advance Damian's business interests. What do you recommend? Document everything, act fast, and hit them before they realize how much you know. Damian is planning to make a major move in the next few weeks. I found emails discussing a partnership announcement with several development companies. If that happens, it'll be much harder to prove the corruption. Rebecca hands me a USB drive and a detailed written report. Everything's on here. Financial records, email communications, recorded conversations, timeline analysis. It's enough to destroy both of their careers and probably send Damian to prison for fraud. And Vera? Your wife is either the most naive woman in Massachusetts, or she's a willing participant in a conspiracy to commit fraud. Either way, her career in nonprofit work is over. I drive home with the evidence burning a hole in my jacket pocket. The house is dark when I pull into the driveway. Vera's car is gone, probably spending the night with her real partner. It's better this way. I need time to think, to plan, to decide exactly how to use what I've learned. I pour myself a scotch and sit in my home office, reviewing Rebecca's report. The scope of the betrayal is staggering. Not just an affair, but a systematic campaign to destroy everything I've built while enriching the man who's been sleeping with my wife. But they've made one critical mistake. They've underestimated me. Vera and Damian think they're dealing with a cuckolded husband who will quietly accept his humiliation and fade into the background. They have no idea that I've spent 15 years building a security company by staying 3 steps ahead of people who want to exploit vulnerabilities. And they've just given me all the ammunition I need to destroy them both. I open my laptop and start making a list. Corporate clients who need to know about the security breach. Nonprofit board members who need to understand the corruption in their organization. Journalists who would be very interested in a story about lobbying fraud and environmental policy manipulation. By dawn, I have a plan. By noon tomorrow, Vera and Damian's world will start falling apart. And unlike their careful, gradual strategy to destroy me, my approach is going to be swift, public, and absolutely devastating. I finish my scotch and go to bed. Tomorrow is going to be a very busy day. The next morning, I'm back in my office by 6 a.m., but this time I'm not alone. Tessa and Miles are already waiting, along with Rebecca Torres and 2 people I've never met, a woman in an expensive suit and a man with a press badge. Leon, meet District Attorney Sarah Chen and investigative journalist Mark Stevens from the Boston Globe, Tessa says. They're very interested in what we found yesterday. D.A. Chen is younger than I expected, maybe 45, with the kind of sharp intelligence that comes from prosecuting white-collar crime for 20 years. Mark Stevens looks like every investigative reporter I've ever seen. Rumpled clothes, coffee-stained notepad, and eyes that light up when they smell a story. Mr. Carter, thank you for bringing this to our attention, D.A. Chen says. The evidence Ms. Torres has compiled suggests a clear pattern of fraud, corruption, and conspiracy. We're prepared to move forward with criminal charges, but we need your cooperation. What kind of cooperation? We need you to act normally for the next few hours while we coordinate arrests and search warrants. Can you do that? Define normally. Mark Stevens leans forward. Oh, we need you to go home, have breakfast with your wife if she's there, maybe call Damian's office to set up a meeting about resolving your differences. Just enough contact to ensure they're both available when we're ready to move. And then? Then we destroy them, Tessa says with a smile that would make a shark nervous. The plan is elegant in its simplicity. At 2 p.m., D.A. Chen's office will execute search warrants on Damian's lobbying firm and Vera's nonprofit organization. Simultaneously, both Damian and Vera will be arrested on charges of fraud, conspiracy, and corruption. By 3 p.m., Mark Stevens' story will be live on the Boston Globe website with full documentation of the scandal. What about the corporate clients? I ask. We've already contacted Harrison Industries and your other major sponsors, Rebecca says. They're prepared to issue statements supporting Carter Security's decision to terminate relationships with compromised organizations. You're going to come out of this looking like the responsible party who identified and addressed the corruption. Miles hands me a tablet with social media feeds already loaded. Tessa's been monitoring Vera's friends' accounts. Simone Walsh posted this an hour ago. The Instagram story shows Vera and Damian having breakfast at an expensive downtown restaurant, both of them looking relaxed and happy. The caption reads, "Planning the next phase of our partnership. Big announcements coming soon. Chuck's power couple. Chuck's environmental leadership. Chuck's exciting news." They have no idea what's coming, Tessa observes. Speaking of which, DHN says, "We need you to make that phone call now. We want to ensure Damian is in his office when we arrive." I dial Damian's direct number. He answers on the second ring, sounding confident and slightly condescending. "Leon, I was hoping you'd call. Vera told me about your conversation last night. I think there are some misunderstandings we should clear up." "I think you're right. Can we meet this afternoon? Maybe at your office around 2:30? "Perfect. I think you'll find that Vera and I have been working in everyone's best interests. Sometimes these professional relationships can look complicated from the outside, but I'm sure we can help you understand the bigger picture." "I'm looking forward to it." "Excellent. And Leon, I appreciate you being reasonable about this. A lot of men in your situation would react emotionally, but you're handling this like a professional." The arrogance is breathtaking. Even now, even after everything he's done, Damian thinks he's in control of the situation. "See you at 2:30, I say, and hang up. "He'll be there," I tell DHN. "Perfect. Now go home and act surprised when your wife tells you about her breakfast meeting. We'll handle everything else." I drive home through downtown traffic, passing the restaurant where Vera and Damian are probably still celebrating their upcoming victory. In 3 hours, their world is going to explode, and they have absolutely no idea it's coming. Vera's car is in the driveway when I arrive. She's in the kitchen making coffee, still wearing the clothes from yesterday, but now she looks refreshed, confident, like she's made a decision that's lifted a weight from her shoulders. "Good morning," she says without looking at me. "We need to finish our conversation from last night." I'm listening. "I've decided to file for divorce. I think it's the best thing for both of us." "When?" "I'm meeting with a lawyer next week. I want to keep this as amicable as possible, Leon. We both have reputations to protect." The irony is perfect. Vera is planning to divorce me to protect her reputation, while law enforcement officers are preparing arrest warrants that will destroy any reputation she has left. "What about your organization?" "What about it?" "How do you plan to handle the conflict of interest issues with Damian's clients?" Vera pours herself coffee and sits across from me at the breakfast bar. "There are no conflict of interest issues. Damian and I have been very careful to maintain appropriate professional boundaries." $15,000 in consulting fees suggests otherwise. Her coffee cup freezes halfway to her lips. "How do you know about that?" "I know about a lot of things, Vera. The question is whether you're going to keep lying about them." "Those payments are legitimate consulting fees for policy analysis work. Those payments are bribes, and they're documented, along with everything else you and Damian have been doing for the past 6 months. Vera sets down her coffee cup and stares at me. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about corporate espionage. I'm talking about fraud. I'm talking about a systematic campaign to corrupt your organization while stealing information from my company." "You're being paranoid." "I'm being thorough, and in about 4 hours, everyone else is going to know exactly what you've been doing." My phone buzzes with a text from Tessa. "Search warrants executed. Both subjects in custody. Story goes live in 15 minutes. I show Vera the text message. "It's over." The color drains from her face as she realizes what's happening. "Leon, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You and Damian thought you were playing chess while I was playing checkers. You thought I'd be too hurt and too stupid to figure out what you were really doing. We never meant for it to go this far. You meant for it to go exactly this far. You planned every step, from the affair to the financial corruption to stealing my client information. The only thing you didn't plan for was getting caught." Vera starts crying, but they're not tears of remorse. They're tears of rage and frustration. "You've destroyed everything I worked for." "No, you destroyed everything you worked for. I just documented it." My phone rings. Mark Stevens. "Mr. Carter, the story is live. You might want to check the Boston Globe website." I open my laptop and navigate to the Globe's homepage. The headline takes up half the screen. "Environmental leader and lobbyist arrested in corruption scandal. Nonprofit executive accused of taking bribes to influence policy decisions." The article is devastating. Photos of Vera and Damian being led away in handcuffs, detailed financial records showing the pattern of payments, quotes from corporate clients expressing shock and disappointment, a timeline of policy decisions that aligned with Damian's client interests, and prominently featured throughout the story, Carter Security's role in identifying and reporting the corruption, positioning me as the responsible party who put integrity above personal relationships. "Leon," Vera says, reading over my shoulder, "please, there has to be something we can do. Some way to fix this." "There's nothing to fix. You made your choices, and now you're living with the consequences." "But my career." "Your career is over. Damian's career is over. Your organization will probably survive, but only after a complete leadership change and a thorough investigation of every decision made during your tenure." Vera collapses into a chair, finally understanding the magnitude of what's happening. "What about us?" "There is no us. There hasn't been an us for 6 months. You ended our marriage when you decided to betray everything we built together." My phone rings again. This time it's Miles. "Boss, you need to see the news. Local TV stations have picked up the story. There are reporters outside Damian's office building and the nonprofit's headquarters. This is going national." I walk to the window and look out at our quiet neighborhood street. In a few hours, there will probably be news vans parked outside our house, too. The story is too good to ignore. Environmental corruption, adultery, corporate espionage, and a husband who turned his wife in to the authorities. "Vera," I say without turning around, "you should call a lawyer, a criminal defense lawyer, not a divorce attorney." "Leon, please." "Please what? Please forgive you? Please help you cover this up? Please pretend that you didn't spend 6 months systematically destroying our marriage and both our careers for a man who was using you?" I turn around and look at her. She's still beautiful, still the woman I married 12 years ago. But she's also a stranger who made choices that I can't forgive and can't forget. "I loved you," I tell her. "For 12 years I loved you and supported you and believed in you, and you threw it all away for a man who saw you as a business opportunity." "I know," she whispers. "I know I made mistakes." "You didn't make mistakes. You made choices, and every choice you made was designed to hurt me while helping him." The doorbell rings. Through the window, I can see a news van pulling up to the curb. "That's your cue to leave," I tell Vera, "unless you want to answer questions about your arrest on camera." She gathers her purse and keys, moving like someone in shock. At the door, she turns back to me one last time. "Leon, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't change anything, but I am sorry." "No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference." After she leaves, I sit in my kitchen and watch the news coverage on my laptop. Damian and Vera's mugshots are already online. The nonprofits board has called an emergency meeting. Harrison Industries has issued a statement praising Carter Security's commitment to ethical business practices. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Reporters, clients, colleagues, friends, who want to know if I'm okay and whether the stories are true. But I don't feel like talking to anyone. I feel like sitting in my kitchen, drinking coffee, and watching the systematic destruction of 2 people who thought they were smarter than me. By evening, the story has been picked up by CNN, Fox News, and every major newspaper in the country. Environmental corruption scandal is trending on social media. Vera's former friends are posting carefully worded statements distancing themselves from the situation, and I'm sitting in my house, alone, surrounded by the remnants of a marriage that ended 6 months ago when my wife decided to betray everything we built together. Tomorrow, I'll start rebuilding. Carter Security will be stronger than ever, with a reputation for integrity that money can't buy. I'll probably sell this house and start over somewhere new, somewhere without memories of a woman who chose to destroy us both for a man who never loved her. But tonight, I'm just going to sit here and watch the news coverage of my wife's arrest, feeling something that might be satisfaction or might be sadness. Either way, it's over.